Hello everyone, myself Shrey Patel, and today we are discussing the Carlos Ghosn case, which highlights how extraordinary leadership can coexist with a serious governance failures. Ghosn was widely recognized as one of the most influential automotive CEOs globally. Moreover, he played a crucial role in rescuing both Renault and Nissan from financial distress, and in doing so he built a reputation that bordered on legendary. However, his leadership was seen as a bold, transformative, and visionary. This extraordinary success came with significant risk. The centralization of authority around Goan created governance blind spots that went largely unnoticed for years. When one leader accumulates too much decision making power, it's become easier for oversight to weak. The case reveals serious concerns such as concealed compensation, the misuse of cooperative assets, and a level of influence that extend far beyond what a single executive should possess in a multinational alliance. Lastly, these issues were not just isolated incidents, but they reflected a deeper structural vulnerabilities with the Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi governance system. Today, our goal is to explore how these failures occurred, why the board could not prevent them, and what lessons organization can learn about the leadership accountability, board structure, and the importance of maintaining strong and transparent governance.
Exactly. Contrast between massive success and structural weakness is really striking.
It's remarkable how one leader could wield so much unchecked influence across multiple companies.
And that also shows how crucial governance becomes when a CEO reaches that level of authority and public stature.
So now let's look deeper into those rise. So he also earned some international praise for delivering bold turnarounds, especially at Nissan. He made rapid, difficult decisions, closing unprofitable plants, cutting excess cost, renegotiating supplier agreements, and reshaping corporate culture. So basically, under his leadership, Nissan went from near bankruptcy to being one of Japan's most profitable automakers. This success elevated Ghost to a near hero-like status in Japan and earned him strong admiration in France. But admiration can create an unhealthy power dynamic. When a CEO is framed as irrepressible, that perception can unintentionally weaken the governance system around them. Boards began to rely more on a leader's past achievements than on continuous evaluation. Over time, decision making becomes overly dependent on one individual. In the case, senior leaders and board members often hesitated to question goals, actions, or financial decisions. So basically, this reluctance contributed to compensation structures becoming opaque and accountability fading. His rising public profile, magazine covers, documentaries, celebrity interviews strengthened the imbalance and further insulated him from scrutiny.
His influence becomes so dominant that it almost overshadows the organization itself.
Yeah, true. And that kind of dominance makes internal checks extremely difficult to enforce.
Also, it shows how admiration can gradually turn into silence when accountability is lacking.
One of the clearest lessons from the case is the weakness of board oversight. Simultaneously held a leadership position in Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi. This level of concentrated control is not only unusual, it inherently dangerous. Few governance system can effectively supervise an executive who hold that much authority across multiple entities. Within Nissan, the board structure lack a strong independent director who could challenge decision. Internal audits did not routinely scrutinize executive compensation, which allow irregularities to go undetected. The board did not enforce transparency, meaning a key financial arrangements bypass collective review. Compensation could therefore be deferred, hidden, or structured in way that were unclear even to a board members. A healthy governance system distributes both power and the responsibility. In the case power accumulated uh, overwhelmingly in the individual, the board gradually become more of an advisory group than a supervisory body. Without a clear separation of role, effectively succession planning or robust independent review, it become extremely difficult, even socially uncomfortable to a challenge questionable practice. The system unable goes gone to operate without a meaningful checks.
Yeah, that concentration of responsibilities really created a perfect storm for oversight failure.
Exactly. The board seems to operate reactively rather than proactively.
It's a reminder that symbolic check and balances are not enough. They must function in practice.
That's right. So let's now dive into cultural and organizational tensions. So it's also essential to understand that the cultural and political tensions within the alliance. Renault and Nissan came from very different national and organizational cultures. French corporate culture tends to be more centralized, hierarchical, and leader driven. Japanese corporate culture, in my opinion, emphasizes consensus, group harmony, and collective decision making. So these opposing approaches created a lot of friction over time. The case documents how Japanese executives, including Saikawa, eventually distanced themselves from Gon once allegations surfaced. Their reactions reflected not only governance concerns, but also underlying cultural and political tensions. France, as a partial owner of Renault, often sought influence over Nissan, while Japanese leaders wanted autonomy. Because the alliance lacked a unified governance framework that respected both cultural systems, misunderstandings, distrust, and conflicting motives gradually accumulated. This fragmentation meant that there was no consistent approach to oversight, succession planning, or accountability. When this scandal emerged, these unresolved tensions heavily influenced how events unfolded.
Yes, those cultural differences clearly amplified the crisis and complicated communication.
Absolutely. Multinational alliance requires stronger structural alignment than single nation firms.
And governance must adapt a culture realities rather than ignoring them.
So now let's talk about whistleblowing and organizational transparency. A major turning point in this case was the whistleblower report that exposed irregularities in compensation. This moment reveals how essential internal reporting systems are. When a leader dominates an organization, employees often fear raising concerns due to potential retaliation, social consequences, or career limitations. A functional whistleblowing system must guarantee confidentiality and independence, and employees must genuinely trust their voices, which will be protected. The governance report emphasizes that psychological safety is just as important as formal reporting procedures. In the Gone case, employees hesitated for years before speaking up in front of them. They feared the challenging the CEO, whose influence was vast. This hesitancy allowed governance failures to persist much longer than they should have. Organizations must work to create environments where questioning, evaluating, and reporting concerns are normal and encouraged. Without transparency and trust, issues remain hidden and escalate.
If reporting channels had been stronger, the problems could have surfaced much earlier.
So, yes, cultures of silence are extremely costly and dangerous for organizations as well.
Yeah, and it shows that whistleblowing systems need more than policies. So trust is the key, basically.
Exactly. From a governance perspective, the Gone case offers several powerful lessons. First, board must maintain true independence. Their purpose is to safeguard the organization, not to support an individual leader. When the board becomes too aligned with the CEO, oversight disappears. Second, leadership roles should never be overly concentrated. No single person should control multiple top positions, especially across several companies. Separation of roles ensures that decisions are reviewed, challenged, and understood by more than one authority figure. Third, compensation structures must be transparent, standardized, and audited regularly. Hidden and deferred compensation is one of the biggest risk areas in executive governance. Finally, global organizations must design governance frameworks that reflect cultural, legal, organizational differences. A one-size-fits-all approach is ineffective in complex multinational structures. Governance must be flexible enough to respect local norms while maintaining universal standards of accountability and transparency.
So the point about independence really stands out. Boards need autonomy.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
oversight
Oversight.
should strengthen as a leader's influence grows.
Exactly. Governance must evolve along with the organization.
So, to conclude, the Carlos Ghosn case highlights how extraordinary leadership can mask deep governance flaws. The failures we discuss Excu- excessive power, concentration, weak oversight, cultural tensions, and unsafe reporting environments demonstrate the importance of balanced leadership and robust governance. Organizations must ensure that even their most successful leaders remain accountable, that structures are in place to protect transparency, integrity, as well as long term organizational health. So that's all from my side and my group. Thank you so much, Prof, for listening it.